JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 7 Steel Ball Run comes in as one of the longest JoJo parts to date. Seeing as to how Araki switched from a shonen to a seinen serialization, he also got to release each chapter once a month instead of once a week, thus improving both his art style and the length of his chapters. Now, what does this have to do with the anime? Well, length is not really an issue, but more so the content of the animation. Steel Ball Run is about a competition to race across America, and we've had big journeys before in JoJo with no issues. For example, Stardust Crusaders. But the difference between Stardust Crusaders and Steel Ball Run is that they don't have cars. It's the 1890s and everybody is riding a horse. Now, David Production is filled with talented animators, and everyone else who works on the JoJo show has never let the fans down. And they have animated JoJo for the good part of 10 years now. Every part has been done justice, and I can't really think of anything that was received negatively by the public. So I have no doubts that they will animate Steel Ball Run perfectly, but there is one catch when it comes to animating this part. It's horses. Horses are so expensive to animate, and they take a really long time to do. According to the Media Development Research Institute, the cost of making the average 20-minute episode of anime averages at about $100,000 to $300,000. This includes the following: script, episode direction, production, key animation supervision, finishing, backgrounds, photography, sound, materials, editing, printing, etc. My guess is that the average JoJo episode costs something in between this. Now, that is animation without horses. If we put horses into the equation, it would raise the cost and time spent animating significantly. And it's also why other companies that animate medieval or fantasy themes often use 3D animation when it comes to horses. This is also something that David Production could do. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that 3D production is cheaper, because high-end 3D animation is super expensive too. It just means that they can be more cost-effective on the horses specifically with effective use of 3D animation, or CGI. Now, why are horses so expensive to animate? Well, horses are really complex animals that look differently proportioned from pretty much any angle. When animating a horse, you have to think of 1,000 details at once. For example, a horse's legs bends in 3 angles. Now you gotta draw that 4 times each frame. The muscles are constantly moving. You have to factor in the environment and terrain and how the horse would react to that. Their legs are super long and thin compared to the rest of their body. And they constantly change how they look depending on how their legs are moving. Are they walking? Are they galloping? Just to mention a few. Now compare that to a person in an anime. You can get away with just having a person stand still and just move their facial expression and mouth when they talk. But a horse is always moving its entire body unless it's standing still. Now imagine this. You're animating one horse from this frame. Okay, fair enough, it's doable, right? Then 2 horses. Okay, not too bad. And then this scene. And then this scene. Now, just think back to how many scenes there are like this in Steel Ball Run, when there's multiple horses in one frame, as well as stand users using abilities at the same time. There's just so much going on in Steel Ball Run that it's going to cost a fortune to animate. Let's not forget about the time it takes to do all of this. Then you have to factor in that David Production has always complemented the manga art style really well. And Steel Ball Run is really the turning point of JoJo, where most panels actually look like its own separate art piece. So they have to animate horses in pretty much every episode, as well as keeping the show's art style true to the manga. Which means more time needs to be spent making it, as well as more money to pay the employees. Now, while David Production might make a lot of money from JoJo, I have my doubts that they will animate everything from Steel Ball Run in 2D. So, what are the possible solutions that David Production could utilize? It's important to remember what happened to Berserk 2016. This anime was mostly animated with 3D animation, and it wasn't exactly received well. The public statement they made about this was that they wanted to try something different, but it's widely known that the reason they did this was to cut corners and lower costs. David Production is most likely aware of this as well, and they know the consequence of making bad 3D animation. And JoJo is actually no stranger to 3D animation itself, as it's used occasionally in the intros as well as some scenes from the show, but usually it's executed in such a manner that the average viewer wouldn't notice. Another thing that they could do is make it so that the shots are zoomed in so you don't have to animate the legs of the horses. But if they rely on this too much, I think a lot of people will take notice and they won't be happy. Now, I put my trust in them that they will make a good call about all of this, and I think we will have to wait quite a while for this to be ready compared to other parts. It's just how it is, and I'm happy as long as we get a part 7. Thank you for watching, you guys are amazing, and I'll see you in the next one.